Welcome to the workshop. My buddy's getting married in 9 days, and I'd like to make him a chef's knife. There's just one problem with that, and that's, well, I've only ever made one knife before. Now I have all the tools, I've collected them over time, but I need to make some jigs, I need to figure out my workflow, and there's some problems I need to solve along the way. Hopefully, I can get all that done on time. Let me show you the design I've made. This is my version of a 230mm K-tip Q-tip, a general purpose kitchen knife. I've designed it to be tall in the heel for knuckle clearance, given it a relatively flat profile for good contact on the cutting board, as well as a gently upswept belly for rock chopping. I'll finish the knife with a comfy faceted handle made of brass, black, and walnut. I'm starting by roughly dimensioning the walnut on the bandsaw. Why? Because I'd like to stabilize the walnut scales in cactus juice, a pro-grade impregnating resin that'll make the wood of the handle harder and moisture resistant. We need to do this now, as walnut requires a full 1 week soak time in the cactus juice. The magic happens when vacuum's applied to the chamber. This sucks all the air out of the fibers of the wood. Resin then flows into and fills those voids. So while that's working, let's turn our attention to steel. I'm using 3/16 inch thick by 2.5 inch wide AEBL stainless steel from New Jersey Steel Baron. Why? AEBL is an old, high toughness razor blade steel, so I know it can be ground with a laser thin edge, and that's exactly what I want. Importantly, this isn't a modern powder metallurgical stainless steel that can hold its edge indefinitely like, say, Laren Thomas's MagnaCut. AEBL won't hold its edge nearly as long, but properly heat treated and properly ground, I believe this steel will be more user-friendly to a home cook or chef alike, acting more like a high carbon steel knife, but with all the benefits of stainless. Now, one issue with AEBL is that it's hot rolled on a coil. It retains some memory of being rolled up, and therefore it's prone to warping. So I made a quick and dirty straightening jig for the vise. Works a charm. Also important is to dial in the edge profile so that it will rock chop and hit the cutting board appropriately, so mimicking the cutting motion on the grinder is imperative. When it feels good, you're done. Okay, now with all that dialed in, it's time to heat treat the knife. This is the most important part of knife making. Someone can always come along later and regrind bevels thinner, sharpen better, replace the handle, but once the heat treat is complete, well, that's it. So it's important to pay attention to all the details. First, insert the blanks in sacrificial stainless envelopes. See, this steel has a very precise mixture of carbon and chromium. We don't want them reacting with oxygen and causing decarburization, as it'll change the composition of the steel and change its properties. The foil is our defense against that. Next, I put the steel through a normalization process, heating to 1740 degrees, then plate quenching to refine the grain, increase toughness, and erase any memory of its life on the coil. I'll let it cool to room temperature, then I'll do it all over again, but at a much higher temperature. So this heat treat recipe comes from an old blade forum post by Devin Thomas, well known for his expert treatment of AEBL. His suggestion is to make a handful of test coupons from scrap steel and heat each to different temperatures to find what's optimal for your equipment. I did just that. I expect adequate results today. I know I'm in the right ballpark. Then, over time, I'll slowly sneak up on perfection. What I want is to sacrifice some of AEBL's inherent toughness for increased hardness. Achieving a Rockwell 64C and a toughness of 12 foot-pounds would make an outstanding chef's knife. To reach that level of hardness, a plate quench to room temperature isn't enough. What's required is an immediate cryogenic quench in -300°F liquid nitrogen. That will convert the maximum amount of austenite to hard, brittle martensitic steel. 2 1-hour tempering cycles are then required to relieve the internal stresses and brittleness within the steel, relaxing everything so the knife can be used. All right, let's pause for just a minute. So we've made the knives, we've made the test coupons at different temperatures. Now we need some objective data to tell us how well we did on our heat treating. In order to do that, I've ground everything flat. You need to remove any decarburization that there is in order to get accurate test results. And then we're going to use this, the Ames portable hardness tester, to determine exactly how hard the steel got. This is how it works. Start by zeroing out the indicator dial. Then insert the blade and apply a minor load with the hand wheel until it reads set. Next, zero the hardness scale wheel. And finally, apply 150 kilos of major load before smoothly releasing pressure back to set. The number under the lucite magnifier is your Rockwell C hardness. I filmed the process in one shot, so you know I'm being truthful, but it's hard to see that I hit exactly Rockwell 64C. I am legitimately ecstatic with these results. I tested everything 3 times to make sure there's no erroneous results. On the test coupons, I hit anywhere from 62 to 64 on the Rockwell C scale, and the knives, sweet spot at 64. Couldn't be better, but there's a ton of work left to do, and a ton of ways I can still screw these knives up. Let's get back to work. Okay, slight change of plans here. So my buddy's wedding's now in 2 days. I've got plenty of time, however, I finished his knife. Why? I took that first knife blank and I was tapering the tangs and I had some issues with the surface grinding attachment. And then I decided to forge ahead just to see, and I had some problems doing the S-grind, and then I had problems with the buffer and with hand sharpening. This knife has been a trial. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do a part 2 to this video. I'm gonna take the remaining 2 blanks that I haven't touched. We're gonna pick up exactly where we left off. I'm gonna go through step by step, and I'm gonna show you how to finish the knives, at least how I finish these knives. And I think it should be pretty interesting because I'll get to show you all the mistakes that I made on this knife, how I solved them to get some additional quality out of these knives. In the meantime, let me show you my buddy's knife, and then we'll put it through a little test here. So we've got 190 millimeters of cutting edge here. Both sides of the blade have symmetrical full flat grinds, hand sharpened to 6,000 grit on Shapton glass stones. I'm measuring a laser thin 1/1000th of an inch behind the edge. Now, to help with food release, I've added a hollow S-grind to the right side of the blade and finished everything off with a sharply geometric handle of brass, black, and Bastogne walnut. I think the knife looks pretty good. There's just one question remaining. Will it cut? We'll start with everyone's favorite, the tomato. Yeah, okay, that's pretty sharp. Now, admittedly, this isn't the ripest tomato, but it's midsummer. It doesn't get much better than this. At least from your average supermarket. If you've got a garden, different story. That's pretty impressive, honestly. I'm happy. Okay, now the thing with the carrot is, does it crack when you push the knife through? If it does, that means you probably could have thinned the knife a little bit more, because the goal is, of course, to cut the carrot, not to wedge it open and crack it in half. And finally, the potato. Since nothing sticks to the cut side, it appears the S-grind is working as intended, promoting food release. Shockingly though, the potato sticks on the to-be cut side, so it's kind of a fail. I'll need to go back to the drawing board to solve this for the next knife, but that's kind of how these things go. Incremental improvement. For my first knife, it's not too shabby. It looks good, it feels great in the hand. It's sharp, it cuts without wedging, and the S-grind promotes food release. It doesn't get much better than that. I think this is going to make an excellent wedding gift. Now sure, there's some fit and finish details that I need to work on. Stay tuned for part 2. Like, subscribe. We'll finish the last 2 blanks and we'll work on all of those. We'll talk about the challenges. We'll talk about how I solved them. We'll see how it goes. As always, enjoy.